Jesus keep me. I wanted to share a small excerpt from the book. Um, and this is my way, if that makes sense. Like, of every year for a while now, I've tried to do something different. I used to wake up and not know what day it was, but I would know what day it was. So May 29th, I would wake up with the most ungodful pain in my body, outside of the pain I already wake up with every day. And this burden, this heaviness. And it would be at some point I would realize what today is. And in July, it would be the same thing. I write about it in the book. And I write about it because I don't know if people really understand how the body remembers something that sometimes the mind doesn't even remember. It's amazing what the body can do and the mind can do. I have learned so much, even in sharing and looking back at it, how my body has performed in the past 2 or 3 decades, and how my mind has performed in the past 2 or 3 decades, either shielding me from something, protecting me from something. I love you. I love you too, babe. Or bringing something back so I can be healed from it, which is really good sometimes. But yeah, it's good in the end, but it don't always feel good. So I want to share this because it's my daughter's birthday. I'm not going to the grave. I'm not really a grave person. I thought I would be, but I'm not. So I did go to the grave last year, right at the end of the year. For those that follow me, you saw it. And I finally put a headstone on her grave. When she passed away, I was told babies that die, even though she was 1.5 years, I was told that babies that die do not have headstones. For a while, that bothered me, I must admit. And then after a while, it didn't, because first of all, I didn't go at the funeral. I don't remember going after the funeral. Her daddy said that he took me. It would be years later that we had this conversation, but he said he took me to the grave. And it didn't go well, but I don't remember that. So that's blocked with good reason. The only time I would remember first going to my daughter's grave would be about 10 years after her death. And by then I was at Destiny, my current ministry, and I had been through some healing and deliverance sessions. And when I went to God with it, it was, I don't want to go, because if I go, that makes it final. And even though part of me knew she was gone, and I'm saying 10 years plus, another part of me was still holding on. And I'm saying 10 years plus. And now I've carried a whole nother child. And let me explain that. Because this is interesting for people that really just don't get it. So I was pregnant for 3 years straight, back to back, nonstop. Okay. So one died. I had to have that surgically removed because I refused to carry it to term to pass. Right after that, I was pregnant again with a set of twins. The one died, the embryo left, and then what was left was Anaya. Okay. She was born 4 months early, and she died at 1.5 years. She died on July 26th. I got pregnant again in that year. My 5th child, my baby that everyone sees on social media and everywhere else, student at NCCU, Corey's mommy, my baby was not due until October. My baby girl came July I have to make sure I say it right because my husband's birthday and my wedding anniversary is July 13th. My baby girl came July 14th, the following year. So, July 26th, the year prior, my daughter died. A year later, the same month, 2 weeks after my daughter's death, the next child would be born 3 months early. Let me tell y'all something. Yeah. So, you talk about trauma, you talk about grief, you talked about I hadn't even grieved the first child. Like, we hadn't even got to that before we carried the next one. And the reason why I hadn't is because I didn't know I was supposed to. I've never seen anyone in my life just sit down and grieve. That wasn't something that I've ever seen. I've always just gotten up and just gone. Just handle business and let's go. Period. And you'll find in the book that I did that until last year when my body said no more. Well, actually 2 years ago my heart broke, and last year, because I haven't worked since October of last year. Last year, what people don't know is it hit a little bit stronger and I had to sit down. I had to. I had to. And even now, like if you can't see, I have a overreactive autoimmune system and a weakened autoimmune system, both in the same. So I have a autoimmune disease that is not curable. That is very rare. And it causes me to flare up really bad. And so when I'm in pain, because it's nonstop, it's an everyday thing. But pain causes my blood pressure to go up. And so sometimes it tends to burst the blood vessels in my eye. So that is what you see. I explain that a lot because I don't really want people to think, what is she on? I'm not on, well, I'm on things, but this is the cause of that. It's pain. I don't talk about it in as much because it's something I deal with every day of my life since I was 15. So I just, roll with it. God has been really good to me. And I'm not on any pain management because it does not work for me. So when I'm in real serious pain, if I'm having a really bad flare up, this is what happens. So anyhow, and the crazy part is oh Lord, I don't know what I just did. The crazy part is there's a lot of factors to that one thing, because that's not all I deal with, but that's just the one thing. And it could be stress as well. It could be good stress, bad stress. It could be so many things that factor that part, that you really can't differentiate what just happened as to why I'm flaring. So every day I wake up with a flare. I go to bed every night with a flare. And yet I am still healed. Like, I'm healed. I'm not complaining. Not one bit. And that's just one thing physically that I deal with every day. So I'm going to read this in lieu of my baby's birthday today. And I'm going to delete it later. Why? Because I want to. Come to the book signing. The book signing is June 6th from 2 to 5. RSVP first, though, because seating is limited. And if you have not purchased the book, why not? If not for you, for someone else. So if you want to purchase the book, you can go to sherobookstore.com. Shero. S-H. I know these braces in this country, girl, can mess you up. SHERO bookstore.com. You can go to ValerieRaynerMinistries.com. It might just be ValerieRayner.com. It's my name. You can go to, you can also cash out Valerie, Lady V.A. Rayner. $19.99 though for the book. And I'll sign it and ship it to you. I'm excited because I have some more news to share at the book signing about what's coming next in lieu of this. So, I'm going to read this chapter. Like I said, I'll probably delete it a little later, but hopefully you guys will be able to see it before I do. And I'm not going to tell you what chapter it is. I'm just going to read a part of it because I want you guys to hear what I have to say right now. I think it's for somebody. Okay. So, for a long time, people called what I had a superpower. And by superpower, if any one of you have ever heard people with ADHD, a lot of people call people with ADHD, they say they have a superpower because we thrive in crisis, but a small, minute, daggone, any little tiny interruption in something will irritate my whole soul. Like, small talk irritates me. Picking me irritates me. Like, just get to it. Slow talking, slow driving, slow walking irritates me. I can't help it. It does. I don't like small talk. I don't like to be picked. Like, say what you got to say, do what you got to do. It does. Don't call me if, like, you want me to come and clean up or something like that. Now, I know I just did that. This is it working in full blast. I'm not one of those that don't clean. I do not thrive in dirtiness, in chaos. I am not that one. I cannot have a mess around me. I cannot stand clutter. I cannot stand neat or unneat hoarding. I feel like I am losing my whole self if I am surrounded by a lot of things. I feel like I am suffocating. I like clean. I dust, I clean. That is my thing. So everyone is not the same when it comes to ADHD. Everything I like to be clean. Because of my health, I'm a neat freak and a clean freak. Like washing my hands, that's all day. My body, probably 2-3 times a day. And then if I'm in my low place, it differs. But somebody's going to get me up and wake me up and make me get up. And that's the blessing in that. And I haven't had a low, a space where I've been that low in a while. Thank the Lord. But that is not how my ADHD works. Mine is if you're dying, if you're in a crisis, I'm the one to call. And it's sad. My brother, Corey, that's why I tag him. Somebody was like, why do you tag him? I tag my brother and my dad because they're part of what I'm talking about, what I'm doing, and they're part of my story. And so Corey is the one that has been saying my entire adult life, you have a superpower. Except it wasn't the ADHD he was referring to. He was referring to, and I write about it in the book, what he was referring to was strength, what he thought was strength, which was really survival. People looked at it as strength, but it was survival. It wasn't always strength. It was fight and flight. It was, who else is going to do it? I do thrive in crisis, yes. But I didn't want to. I didn't want to. I just did. So, for a long time, people called what I had a superpower. They said I had a way of handling things, a way of showing up, a way of carrying what most people could not carry. I believed that. I leaned into it and I let it define me. But I understand now that what I call a superpower was not power at all. It was survival. It was the ability to function while I was falling apart. It was the ability to keep moving so I did not have to feel. It was the ability to carry weight without ever putting it down. It kept me going, but it also kept me numb. It kept me productive, but it disconnected me from my own pain. I was able to show up for everyone else, but I was never present with my own self. I was not able to grieve, so I was not grieving. I was managing. This is not strength. I know now that strength is often misunderstood. Strength is functioning while you are breaking and calling it resilience. Strength is not ignoring the alarms in your body so you can keep performing for other people. Real strength is knowing when you are no longer okay and telling the truth about it. It is choosing to feel even when feeling is uncomfortable. It is allowing yourself to drop what you have been carrying instead of proving that you can hold it. I was praised for being strong for so long. No one asked if I was well. I accepted that praise because I did not know that there was any other way for me to live. I now know that grief is not a problem to be solved. It is not something you pray away. It's not something you push away. It's not something you manage while you continue to perform. Grief has to be felt. It has to be acknowledged. It has to be given space. When I refused to feel it, it did not disappear. It settled deeper. It lived in my body. It showed up in my sleep. It showed up in my thoughts. It showed up in my reactions. It showed up in my health. And I carried it until my body forced me to stop. I continue to say in this book, if you're reading this and you have learned how to keep going, no matter what, hear me clearly. Just because you can carry it well does not mean that you're supposed to. Just because you can function does not mean that you are healed. God. I now know that faith does not require a performance. I stopped performing belief and started practicing honesty. God, if we could just get that. I now know faith does not require a performance. I'm saying that again because somebody needs to hear it and I know it. Faith does not require a performance. I stopped performing belief and started practicing honesty. Why do we have a hard time with that? Okay. I talk to God without trying to sound strong. I started telling God when I was angry. I started telling God when I was tired. I started telling God when I didn't understand. And I learned something in that. God didn't need me to hold it all together to start with. All he wanted me to do was bring to him what was already falling apart. Scripture became something I leaned on instead of something I used to sound whole. I'm going to say that one more time. Scripture became something I leaned on instead of something I used just to sound whole. I stopped searching for the answers that would remove my pain, and I started holding on to the truth that would sustain me through my pain. My worship changed. It became quieter, but it became real. I now know that mental health and my mental illness is not spiritual failure. It's trauma. People, hear me. Please hear me, because I'm now having, since I shared, people look at me sideways. Trauma. will shift the chemicals in your brain. And when you have trauma, such as where you lose a child, you give birth to a child, you lose that child, you give birth to another child with a disability. Don't nobody know about the fifth child has a disability. And then after that, you just keep losing. And you don't grieve. You don't take time to deal with your grief. Yeah. So I said last week I experienced a psychotic break. Just like the movie Straw, Taraji went through. She played that role a little too well for me. I went through that. So my mental health, my mental illness stemmed from trauma. And then in the past 3 years, losing my brother, then my dad, his brother, his son, and then my blood brother. After all of that, hey baby.
Love you.
I love you too. That's number 5. In between that, I did go back on medication because the trauma showed up in ways that was familiar. And I wasn't going to allow it to take me. And so for the betterment of my health, I chose to get back on medication. When Corey died, my brother, I had to go identify his body. I sat with his body until the funeral home arrived 7 hours later. He died while I was taking care of my father, who had cancer, who I believed would live until he told me his wishes. And until I settled in myself that God's will be done and I wasn't going to intervene this time. So I sat with my brother's body for 7 hours until the funeral home came. Went back home to my father and back and forth to make sure the funeral and the things that I needed to do was carried out. A few months later, my father would die with my hand in his. It was the sweetest transition I've ever experienced in my life. As a POA, I've said it, I understood his wishes. But as his daughter, as the only girl, as someone who had a very present father, as someone who got to know her daddy in the past decade differently as an adult than as a child, my daddy was my best friend next to my husband. Now, my husband is my first best friend. Don't play with me. That one you don't touch. My man is my best friend all day long. But my daddy's my first best friend. I always say my first best friend, my first boyfriend. Bought me my first diamond. He told me wouldn't nobody else buy a diamond and replace that diamond, and they would have to come bigger than him. And Dimitri's the only one that trumped. My daddy was my first boyfriend, my first best friend. And when we had the conversation when no one was around, I asked him, and I write about it, you sure? I was like, because if anything go on, I'm calling you back. And the faith that I have, you're coming back. I've seen it. Not in my strength, but with the authority God has given me, I'm calling you back, and you will come back. And my father told me in the house, just he and I believe you. But if I tell you let me go, let me go. So the hardest thing, I think, next to burying my children or losing children, next to losing my brother, yeah. But the hardest thing was telling my dad, I see you and it's okay. That was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And it probably sounds crazy because it's like, buried a child, lost all these kids, went through all this stuff. Yeah. But that was hard because I actually had to say, it's okay. And the truth is, that was a lie. It was not okay for me. It was okay for the POA. It was not okay for his baby girl. Not whatsoever okay. But I had to obey his request and his wishes. And I honored him. I respect him enough to do that. But that was hard. So what I say is, when that happened, I was already back on medication. Because when Corey passed away, that would be when I end up in the hospital with a broken heart. Only to learn about a year after the injections that I'm still taking that my heart didn't break when Corey died. My heart had been breaking for 20 years. And it's just when that span of time happened, it finally just showed up. But I didn't even let that stop me, truth be told. That didn't stop me either. Which is why I say it was last year. So it would be another year before my body would be like, okay, you almost lost your life here, and we tried to warn you, but you didn't listen. And then I got sick, and I just could not recover. Is God a healer? Yes. Don't come to me with that. Yes, he is. He can do anything but fail. But this didn't take an overnight thing, and I believe that God allowed this. This, I do believe God allowed. Because there was no other way that I was going to sit down and stop unless he himself stopped me. It was either this or death. And I didn't want to die. I've wanted to die. I've wanted to die in the past 3 years in that span of time. I did. But I don't want to die now. I got a whiff of the future. I got a whiff of what he wants to do with this story, with this vessel. And I just made up my mind that every day he wakes me up, I'm going after it with everything I got. What I say is, I now know that mental health is not spiritual failure. What I experienced was trauma. It was prolonged stress. It was grief layered on grief without rest. My body responded exactly the way a body does when it has carried too much for too long. Seeking help did not mean that I lacked faith. It meant that I was finally telling the truth about what I needed. God, so let me tell you something. It's good when you can read something to yourself that you yourself has written. Like, I'm reading it for the first time back, but it's blessing me as I read it again. Because, my God, I now know mental health and mental illness is not a spiritual failure. Get that, write it down, quote it. Put it in parentheses because it don't belong to you. What I experienced was trauma. It was prolonged stress. It was grief on top of grief, on top of grief, on top of stress, on top of grief, on top of stress, on top of grief, on top of being the strong one, on top of being the one that felt like she had to carry it all, on top of being the one who felt like she's the only one that could do it. And my daddy himself kept saying, if you left here today, you know what they do? And if you know my daddy, then I'm talking just like him. You know what them people do at that job? They find somebody else. He tell me that. He said, you sit here and you go to bed and you stressed. And these other folks messing with you, they go to bed and they sleep good at night. My father, while he was sick and while I was in the hospital, called and he said, gal, stress will kill you. You hear me? And I'm thinking to myself, Daddy, you sitting here with a tumor the size of a basketball in your belly. I'm in the hospital. And I'm in the hospital just 2 days prior, like burying my brother. Sir, I know stress to kill you, but what? My cardiologist is like, Valerie, we've got to do something about this. Now, that was when Corey died. Imagine when I get back in July, because my heart rate we just could not get it to settle. And he was like, what is going on? Sir. He was like, what's happened since I seen you last? It's only been 3 months. My daddy died. Jesus Christ. And he said, oh. And I'm like, yeah. I'm trying not to stress, but tell me how. I've never lived without a daddy. Tell me how. Help me. Because I don't know. I've never been here before. And I've never had these feelings before. And the reason why they're important now is because I'm sober. When I was carrying those other kids and when I was dealing with it before in my life, I didn't have a therapist. I didn't have a psychiatrist. I had some good people around me, but I also had some good weed. I had some good alcohol. I had some good distractions in my life. I did. So while it did not help the situation, it helped me to forget the thoughts in my head for a little while. For a little while. It helped me to be distracted from whatever I was dealing with. The real thing is, what I couldn't tell people was when it came back, though, it came back and it came back stronger every day. And it came back stronger every day until here just said, we're done. So, seeking help did not mean I lacked faith. It meant I was finally telling the truth about what I needed. Therapy, support, even medication when necessary, are not signs of weakness. They are tools. They are part of the care that allows you to live and not just survive. Some of y'all are just surviving. Aren't you tired of just surviving? Okay. I know now that joy is not betrayal. Let me say that without the braces getting in my way. I now know that joy is not betrayal. For a long time, I believed that if I allowed myself to feel joy, it meant that I was forgetting. It meant that I was moving on, and that is not true. Joy does not replace what I lost. It exists alongside of it. It honors the life that was lived and the love that still remains. I know now that grief sharpens your vision. You stop assuming there'll be more time. You say what matters. You pay attention. You understand how fragile life really is, and you begin to live more with intention. Grief now walks with me instead of dragging me. And I have learned this above everything else. You do not have to earn your healing by carrying everything alone. Yo! That blessed me. I'm sorry. I told you I'm just reading this again for the first time. You do not have to earn your healing by carrying everything alone, my friends. You do not have to prove your strength by staying silent. You do not have to function your way through pain. You are allowed to feel it. You are allowed to put it down. You are allowed to be supported. Hear me? You are allowed to be loved. You are allowed to be carried. What kept me alive for a season that almost destroyed me when I held it on too long was letting go of that superpower that everyone thought I had. I decided I wanted to live. I'm still here. Not because I held everything together, but because I finally stopped trying to. I'm not reading anymore. So, when the monitors went silent is not just about the death of my children. It's not about the 5 that I carried. It's so much more than that. It's not just for women. But it released, and I didn't know it would release, but it released right on time in Mental Health Awareness Month. Because we have this stigma still. Millions are talking about it more. We are talking about it more, but there's still a stigma. We still need to be better educated. We need to be mindful, as Crystal talked about last night at Bible study, at our last night of Mental Health Awareness Month session. You need to watch your words. Watch what you say around people and to people. More than that, watch how you speak to yourself. And I've said this. You talk to you more than anybody else. What are you saying? What are you saying? Is what you're saying lining up with the Word of God? Is what you're saying positive? What are you saying? Be mindful. Mind your mind. That's not a cliche. I promise you. Now, y'all can pin this one because I'm about to get it on a shirt. And if I see somebody else with it, I'm going to sue you. But I said, I'm not even going to repeat that. Just mind your mind. Mind your mind. It's important. I'm telling you. It's important to have a safe space. It's important to have a good support system. It's important to have a good therapist. It's important to have regular doctor visits. I believe a lot of people are leaving here for all of the above reasons. You're trying to carry it alone. You're lying to yourself and to others. You don't take care of your mental health, more or less your physical health. Your eyes need you. Your ears, your throat. You should be going to... I'm so dead serious right now. Like, you should be getting a physical every year. You need to go to the dentist. People are dying because they're not being able to take care of their teeth properly. Healthcare system sucks. It really does. I know it firsthand. I know it. These people are telling me that I have to take an injection to live, but it's $4,000 a month to take it. And that's just one medication that I have to take for my health. We ain't talked about my head. Physical health. $4,000 a month. The healthcare system is jacked. Because they tell you need this stuff and then make it impossible for you to get it. Even with good insurance. That alone can be depressing. Can I be honest? Since we're talking about mental health awareness. that can be depressing, because there are so many people that work and they struggle, and they're only working because they need the benefits. And then there are some people who actually just cannot work, and they get certain benefits, yeah, but they're limited. And that's a whole nother topic. That's a whole, what them people say, rabbit hole we're not gonna go into. But for me, it's not a rabbit hole because it's my day-to-day life. It really is. We need these things for now until because I just don't believe I'm always going to have to take these injections for my heart. I don't believe that I'm always going to have to take these new injections for my HS, for my autoimmune system. I don't believe that I'm always going to be in the place that I'm in right now. I wholeheartedly believe God for my healing, but I also wholeheartedly know, again, that this didn't happen overnight, and it's not going to go away overnight. The process is a process, and just like anything else, you have to go through it. And I'm walking through it. And while I'm walking through it, I'm worshiping. I'm giving God praise and glory. I have not stopped praying. I have not stopped believing. But I also have not stopped seeing my therapist or psychiatrist or taking my medication. And the two can exist at the same time, working hand in hand, because they work hand in hand for me. So be mindful. If I can leave you with that, be real mindful. You don't, and I say this, and I mean this wholeheartedly. Be mindful. Just period. You don't have to know people's business. You don't have to know their story. I'm just open and honest about mine. A little more transparent than I've ever been, but I've always been an open book. Minus what I'm one of those people where I can post a million things and you still not know nothing about what's going on in my life. Legit. I can post all day and still not tell you what's really happening in my life. And I'm always amazed how people respond to me, because I can make a post, or I used to really get agitated. I don't anymore. If I would make a post like I'm somewhere, I'm doing something, and then people would be like, you always doing this, or you don't look sick, or, God, I hate that. I know that's a strong word. I do. We have this stigma. People are just ignorant and not educated, but sometimes it's not that. It's just, they just ignorant. Because people will be like, you don't look sick. And I've said this. I remember sitting in April's chair. April's my MUA and my cuz, my fam, my love. And someone had said it. I don't know if they said it in a post or they said it they sent a text message. I was getting my face done in the moment, and I recorded it live. And someone was like, you don't look sick. And I was like, what does sick look like? What does sick look like? Tell me. What does it look like? I would love to know. All disabilities do not look the same. They do not. Y'all know that, right? I'm always amazed at how people just put stuff together. And I'm not even talking about the mental part of things. I mean physically. I'm sitting here and I just didn't feel like putting on a wig for y'all. I was not about to put on hair this morning. I wanted to come to you just as I am, without one plea. And share my story on my daughter's birthday, whom I love and I miss very, very much. And agitated by the people that are saying you don't look sick. Like, you can't see heart disease. You can't see heart failure. You can't see HS. You can't see an overreactive autoimmune system. You can't see a weakened autoimmune system. And then if I walk around with the gloves and the mask they want me to walk around with every day, then people look at you really. Now then you'll look at me, and it's just like, what? You can't win with some people, you know. And then if I look like somebody, oh, she must be doing good. I am doing good. I am, because God is good. And that's the honest to God truth. I wake up every day with an intent to push my way through whatever is happening. I bandage my open wounds. I clean them. I change my bandages again. And when I'm home, sometimes I just don't wear them at all, because I don't need to. And I don't like heat, so it's easier for me just to have them just out, if I'm honest. And for those that deal with open wounds and wound care, then you understand. But I have them all over my body. I have one on my face right now. You just can't see it. And my daughter's godmama used to say, you don't always have to look like you feel. I'm going to be honest. Sometimes I do look like I feel. But I'm not going to always look like I feel. I may be in pain, but I have a joy that I cannot even explain to you all right now. It doesn't take away from God being the amazing God that He is. Today being my daughter's birthday and not being able to have a birthday party and refusing to go to a grave, God is still good. And there's a joy there that He allowed me the time that He did. And to experience what I experienced with her. Because regardless of what she was going through, she was one of the happiest children I had ever seen. And I'm going to tell you guys something and then I'm done, because I see I've been on here an hour now. Like, yeah, that's enough. I'm going to tell you guys something that's really crazy. The genes that me and my ex carry are crazy. So you'll read it in the book, When the Monitors Went Silent. Order your book today. When I was carrying the 5th child that I called Grace, my baby, I went through a span of time where I was like, okay, God, don't let it look like the last one. Let it be a boy. I don't want it. I don't want another girl, because I don't want her to look like the last one. I was so scared. I was scared of her looking like her sister. I was scared of losing her like I lost her sister. I went through a lot. But I'm not going to tell you that story. What I am going to say is it was mind-blowing how even in the ultrasound, my children look alike. All of them. Same features, same everything. And I'm going to tell y'all what really did it. It didn't cross my mind. It would not cross my mind until it was brought to my attention. So when Corey was born, so Corey is my granddaughter, named after my brother Corey that passed away. Corey. With a K though. K-O-R-I. It wasn't when she was born. It was a few months ago. Some months ago. We were in my bedroom, me, Corey, and Corey's mommy. And we were FaceTiming with my niece, I think, with Corey's daughter. I think it was. Either Corey's daughter or Ayana's sister. Both, actually. We both said it. What blew my mind was Corey was sitting on the bed playing, and one or both of them at the same time were like, it's crazy how Corey looks like Naya, who looks like her brother, Ayana's brother, who has passed away. But my granddaughter is the spitting image of my deceased daughter. So downstairs, there's a picture of my daughter, and there's a baby picture of Corey. They're on opposite sides. I never looked at the two together. To be honest with you, I didn't. I just put them there because that was where Corey ended up being. Corey was a year old by the time we'd had this conversation. And my daughter was like, I've been noticed that. You never noticed that? And I was like, you want to know what? I don't know if I blocked in my head an image. I don't really know. I look at Corey and I would see her mom or her dad with her granddad's features. But then they did a side by side and I was like, this is something. Now, about 15 years ago, that would have done something to me. But it brought me great joy. It also let me know that we good God Almighty, like you couldn't deny these kids if you wanted to. But it's just amazing how much alike they look in features, like very much close resemblance. I count it all joy. I'll say that. So hopefully you got something today. Hopefully the excerpt from the book blessed you. I wanted to do this, like I said, in lieu of my daughter's birthday today. Happy birthday, Cameron with the K, Anaya. You are gone, but you are not forgotten. You will never be forgotten as long as I live. As long as I live. And to my family and my other 2 children, which is the first and the last, the first and the fifth. One, I don't think is tagged for a reason. I love y'all. They will see it. I love you. Because what people really don't understand. Oh, it says what? Dragon? Oh, okay. What people do not understand is my oldest daughter was 6 when my baby passed. And the baby would be born a year and 2 weeks after the death of her sister. So she never got to meet her sister. And yet both of them would be the brunt, I guess, so lack of a better word. They had a mom that they didn't know was just a wreck. A complete wreck. And did not know how to express it, did not know how to properly grieve. And what we don't understand is when we are not properly healed, when we're not taking care of ourselves, what we are living in, what we are doing, we're transferring it. We're spewing it over into our children. For me, it was not intentional. But as they grew older, especially as adults, we had to deal with some things, with some real hard things. Because back then I didn't address things. I didn't know to address grief. I didn't know, that because I chose to keep moving, that everybody else around me did not. I didn't know how to handle that. So I just pushed that to the side and stored that with everything else I was dealing with. And because of that, everyone had trauma. We have to remember that when we're going through something, you're not going through it alone. You may feel alone, but you're not going through it alone. I felt like I was by myself, and I tell the narrative from my view. But my children's father lost multiple children. My daughter lost a sister, and she lost her mama. I was there, but I was not there. Very present, but I was not present. But it was not intentional. However, intentional or not, it affected them. It affected them. Which is why I'm so adamant about dealing with your stuff. I didn't know then what I know now. But once you know better, you do better. Get you a therapist. Get a family therapist. Get you one. Get your family one. Have conversations. Hard conversations. Stop sweeping stuff under the rug and acting like it ain't happening or it didn't happen. I grew up in a time where they said, what happens in this house, stay in this house. The lies you tell. Some of y'all are dealing with trauma from that right now. And you're trying to put it on your kids and your grandkids. You're living lives outside that have it just total opposite of what's happening on the inside. I don't have the capacity for that. I don't. My tolerance level changed. Not when I got healed, but as I got older and got healed. The capacity changed. I have a larger capacity for a lot more things than I did before, but I have a smaller capacity for certain things in life. Foolery is one. Lies is another. Fake, I ain't got it in me no more. I used to be like, I'm okay. People call and say, how are you doing? I started saying, I don't care. I'm not okay. I am not okay. 30 years I've been okay. But matter of fact, 40 some years. But in the past year or so, I'm not okay. I'm not. I'm okay now. Like, I'm okay because Lexapro is great. God is good. And God is great and Lexapro is good. Let me rephrase that. And like I said last week, I have an amazing support system. I have a very wonderful husband and a loving family. We have been to hell and back with each other, and we still rocking with each other. I've lost a lot. I've lost friends. I've lost family members. I ain't lose them. They still here. It's just I don't have the capacity for the foolery and the fakeness anymore. I just don't. For nobody. Family, friend, foe, whatever. Life, when I read that, I meant that with my whole heart. Life is too short and too fragile for the foolery. It's too fragile to walk out of here and act like everything is all good and hunky-dory. No, it's okay to not be okay. But be honest. Be honest. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with those around you. Faking until you make it is not it no more. That mess ain't cute. People are out here dying, faking it until they're making it. Dying. And losing their whole minds. And losing family members. My husband said it last night. There are some couples that would still be together if they just had a conversation. Some real power couples, real people. Like, there would be some relationships that we still had if we had real conversations and stopped acting like some of this stuff that happened didn't happen. I can't. And I ain't. No more. And I have a master's degree. And I meant every word I said. Ain't, can't, no more. Not. And I ain't mad. I just don't have it in me. I don't. When I wrote this book, I didn't write the book because I was good. I wrote the book because I wanted you guys to see what it's like and what happens when you act like you're good. I was doing the final edits in December. And December 29th, my brother died. My daddy's twin. For the first time in my entire life, I literally hit the floor. And I do not know how long I was there. All I know is the second time in my life I could hear someone screaming and I didn't know where the screams were coming from. Only to realize later on that it was me. This time was different. And I wasn't going to sit here and act like I'm okay. I wasn't okay. I was okay in knowing that my brother was with Christ. Now that brought me great joy and peace because I know for a fact my brother was with Christ, is with Christ. That's not a problem. But I'm 47 this year, and I never pictured life without my siblings this soon. I didn't picture my life without my daddy this soon, without my Uncle Benny this soon. I didn't just lose my children. If I'm honest, I lost everyone that's actually the closest to my heart. The closest. These weren't distant people. Oh, my cousin. No, these were the people closest to my heart. This was the circle that I had. These were the people that protected me, that covered me. But what I found was, while they did that, true indeed, not having them has taught me to lean in more with Christ. I always looked at God, my Father. But now He's the only Father I have. The only one. When I didn't want to talk to my dad, because my dad was so strict, even as an adult, I'm talking about I paid a mortgage and my daddy still act like I was a kid sometimes. He had a way about him. I could call him Uncle Benny. And for those that don't know my Uncle Benny is my brother's dad. It's just so hard to explain. We're brother-cousin. We're first cousins, but we grew up and were raised as siblings. And when I moved to Raleigh, that's just how it is. And I've been in Raleigh since I was 19 and I'm 47. So every weekend, our children were raised together. They're best friends. Now they have children. We did ministry together. We did life together. And his father treated me as a daughter, called me a daughter. And in the book, you'll find that when my daughter passed, the first call I made after one call was to my Uncle Benny. He was in New York and he got his girlfriend and got on the road. And he came straight to North Carolina. I needed him. Same with my dad. I was surrounded by men, great men, who loved me. And I loved them. And they were, I call them my bodyguards. And I have for many years. And there's still a few left, a couple left. But it was starting to affect me looking around, and everyone that I could pick up the phone and call, the only people I really trusted in my life were gone. And if I'm really honest, it was hard because I have a husband who I say is my best friend and is. But what people didn't understand was my husband was losing while I was too. He and my brothers were close. My oldest brother, Alan, they had a relationship. My brother, Corey, they were thickest. They were tight. My father, my uncle loved my husband, which was so crazy because you would have to know my Uncle Benny to understand. He loved my husband so much. He gave my husband his boots. And he won't even sit and dying. But he wanted him to have his shoes. And I was like, what in the world? And my Uncle Benny ain't like too many people. Not Not when it came to like relationship wise. Like I wasn't bringing people around him either. You would have to know him to know. My dad was a little bit more lenient, but only on the outside. But he loved my husband. So my husband, I didn't just lose. My husband was grieving too. My children were grieving. Like, God, a lot. A lot. And I'm not the only one. This is just my story. This is just my story. And so I've decided that I'm going to tell my story. And I'm going to keep telling my story. Because there are so many people right now bleeding and leading when you don't have to. There's a lot of people in public, they look one way, but when they get home, they're struggling. I know it. There are people who post all day long scriptures and thoughts, beautiful, joyous posts, and thinking about suicide. Ask me how I know. What I love about me is I'm not going to tell you something somebody else said other than the Bible. I'm not going to tell you something that I heard. I'm going to tell you what I lived. I'm going to tell you the truth. My truth. The truth. Can't nobody take that from me. Nobody. I can't tell you about nobody else because I ain't trying to be like nobody else. I am a stickler for and have always been a stickler for. I don't want to be like nobody else, and you don't want to be like me. Them people with that what did the apostle just teach on? I call it a copycat spirit. It's a spirit, but that spirit we need to get rid of that. Be mindful, because you don't want what people go through. You see people gifts and you see certain platforms and it may look good and it may be good, but you don't know the cost of the oil in my alabaster box. And what I had to go through would probably kill you or make you want to kill yourself, and vice versa. That's how I look at it. Like, I just shared a small portion of my life. And when I say small, I mean small. I got 3 more books sitting in my ready to roll right now. I'm not done. All I do is write. Read, write. I have a lot to say. I have a lot that God has given me to share. And while it seems like it's geared towards women, I don't just want to see women healed and whole for real. I want to see people healed and whole for real. Because we can have all the conferences we want. We can have all the prayer calls. We can have all the things. We can have all the lives. We can write all the books. We can do all of that. But we, especially we women, will do all of that and then come right back to the same cycle. It is time to break these cycles, these repetitive cycles, and get healed and get whole for real. Not just so you can tell the story, but you can tell it from a free place, a healed place, a whole place, and mean it. I don't talk about loving my man and my man and my man for y'all. My man is my man for real. I'm about that life for real. For real, for real. Like, I love my husband for real. In here, out of here. Now, if you ever been around us, people get real tickled because we sound like we fighting because we go back and forth a lot. You would have to be around us to understand that. But don't play with me when that ain't what you want. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that's not a thing I post on Facebook. I don't show my love on social media because it looks good for y'all and for likes and posts. I don't care about the clicks. Bruh, I love my man for real. Like, we like that for real. And we've learned to fight together instead of fighting each other. That was a whole process too. Because our marriage was different from the jump. So there was a lot of hurdles we had to cross to get to where we are. That's a whole nother topic. Anyway, happy birthday to my daughter. I stayed on here way longer than I planned to. But I said what I said. I meant what I said. I'll probably delete it all later. But hopefully if you did get to hear the excerpt from the book, it blessed you. That was a small excerpt. Please go and get the book. And if you have not RSVP'd for the book signing, please do. I need a head count. The books will be in next week. They will be in next week. I'm so excited, y'all. And if you are not, here go my thing. If you're not, I need you to follow me on Valerie Rayner Ministries. I couldn't go live on that page because I don't have enough followers. I need followers on there. Valerie Rayner Ministries. Follow that page so that I can go live from there because I'm getting ready to shut some stuff down on my public Facebook page. It's getting ready to change. Watch me and follow me there. You can follow me here on TikTok. I'm going to do better with posting lives. Mainly because I'm going to talk more live about mental health as well as HS awareness, because that is on TikTok at least really big, and I'm glad to see that there are more people addressing the illness that I've battled for years. Invisible illness, at least invisible to you all if you don't see my scars. I'm going to do more lives on TikTok too, but follow me on Valerie Rayner Ministries. If you're not follow me on TikTok, I think my name is Lady Rayner on TikTok. I am Valerie Rayner on YouTube. I'm going to do better about posting on YouTube. Most of YouTube is worship, so I'm starting to post more worship clips. I'm trying, but stay tuned. I have a big announcement coming. I think I am going to go live for my book signing. I believe I will, because I have an announcement to make, and I'm excited to share this news. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so excited about what God is doing, because it's definitely Him. And for all that I have gone through up until this point, I am getting ready to use every single bit of it for His glory. And I'm not going to stop sharing. I'm not going to stop serving. I'm not going to stop loving. I'm not going to stop being honest and transparent either. So hopefully, if any of this blessed you, if you hung in with me for this entire time, great. If you're catching the replay, if you made it to the end, great. I do pray that you got something from it somewhere, some kind of way. Let me know. But do know this. People are watching. People are watching. People are always watching. My leader used to tell me all the time when I was out, when I used to be out. And she said, you need to be careful because you don't know who sees you. And my husband would tell me, always keep your hands in your mouth. Your mouth and your hands? Your face and your hands clean. Keep your face and your hands clean. because you just don't know. You don't know who's watching. You don't know who's listening. You don't know whose life you may be saving by being kind and saying something nice or doing something nice. Um, you really don't. You don't. So I love y'all with the love of Christ, and I am done. I have talked until I am actually talked out. So now, um, wait, what did I just do? Oh no, honey, I did that wrong. I don't know. How do I get rid of this? Oh, okay.